Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Jayesha podcast. I'm so excited to show you this week's episode with one of my very best friends in the world, Diego Vallota. I'm going to throw you guys right into the conversation, but just to give you a little bit of necessary background, Diego and I started playing, we became friends because we started playing soccer together when we were both 9 years old. I quit playing when I was 17, and Diego continued on to become a college soccer player playing at Wright State. Diego ended up around COVID time being finished playing at Wright State. He quit playing at Wright State because he wanted to play professionally, specifically in Argentina. But when the opportunity came for him to come to Argentina, for him to go to Argentina, COVID happened, so he wasn't able to travel there. Instead, he decided to move in with two friends at UNC who were playing lacrosse there and who had friends on the soccer team where he wanted to continue to train and pursue his dream of becoming a professional soccer player. However, when he went down to UNC, things drastically changed, and he ended up starting a donut shop with these two friends called Nando's. This is what we're talking about when I throw you guys right in. I hope you guys enjoy it. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's a skill that's really potent, is being able to laugh at ourselves. Because, like, it almost invites us to be imperfect with everybody else. Like, it allows us to be human. Like, going back to that quote where you said, man suffers because he takes seriously what God meant for fun. I mean, really, you could think about that with any problem in your life. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes things just seem really, really, really difficult. But, like, at the end of the day, like, you can still smile and, like, just kind of say that, you know what, this is a part of life. And I've gotten through similar things before. Other humans have gotten through similar things. And, like, I don't know what that's going to look like for me, but I got people around me. Like, I can always make the choice to enjoy life.
Absolutely. And this is going to sound really cheesy, but it makes it a lot easier to go through suffering if you know it's going to make other people laugh.
Wow.
You know,
this must be like crazy life hack that I'm hearing.
like if you are going through something that sucks and you can find a way to spin it in a way where you know someone's going to die laughing from it, it makes it a lot easier to do the thing.
Okay, so give an example.
I don't like just the day-to-day monotony of as monotonous of a day as I have is it's not that it's hard to go through the day, but sometimes they just get boring, just as days do, because 50% of your days are below average. You know,
That's true.
It's, by law of averages, 50% of the days are below the line.
Yeah.
So it's like some days aren't great. And if you can find a way to spin your days that stink into a day that's going to make someone else laugh, it just raises it up a little bit.
That's dope, bro.
Yeah. So I think of a lot of my funny videos while I'm at work. And I don't know. If I'm bored doing what I'm working on, in my head as I'm working, because work comes first, if anyone from Tri Properties is listening to this. As I'm getting the job done, multitasking, I am thinking of funny things to say.
That's so fun. Okay, so going back, you learn from Nando's, you like making people laugh. I mean, you were doing that all the time with Nando's.
Well, for Nando's, I think the biggest thing that I learned is energy and making people feel important is the biggest thing. In customer service, at least, I'm just speaking from our brief experience as miniature donut salesman out of our house and then for 6 months out of a bar. But it was a very eye-opening experience in terms of how you can set the energy. It's like you don't always have to feed off of other people's energy. If you raise people's energy, then you can make them feel good. So we would have 300 to 400 people come by our house every weekend and buy donuts. And a lot of people told us that you guys just have such great energy all the time. Like, it's so fun and refreshing to be around you, which I think one was part of the times because COVID and people were miserable during COVID. There was nothing to do. And two, we just tried hard and practiced that all the time. Granted, it was some of the most emotionally exhausting days I've ever had. Like the Nando's days were the most exhausted I think I've ever been in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea. What was so exhausting about it?
Oh, emotionally, just like the work and just because I mean, I didn't realize how many people, 300 people coming to your house was, and we were working off very little sleep.
Mm.
So it would be a whole, like, basically a whole 24-hour process.
Mm.
And we would start Saturday afternoon, we'd start making the dough. And then that would take us about 6 hours to go from start to finish. And we would do this thing called Nando's Eve. And a lot of times we optimize for funny content on the Instagram. So that would take us a lot longer. Granted, we could probably get it if we just sat like down and focused the whole time. We could probably get it done in like half the time, but we didn't. So it is what it is. But we started.
Yeah, I remember in your videos, you guys were like dancing. You're like standing on the chair,
throwing
and, like,
flour everywhere.
yeah.
So much dumb stuff.
And it was hilarious.
We had a lot of fun. And we then woke up at 4 the next day to get the donuts out of the fridge. And a lot of times we would, because we had to let them wait for an hour. So we'd go on like a walk in the morning just so we could refresh a little bit and get some fresh air, or like a quick run or some. I think once or twice we went to work out, but we never actually made that a real thing. We tried to make that a real thing, but we never actually did. And then we would spend 4 hours rolling and cutting the dough. So from 5 to 9, we'd spend rolling and cutting dough. And then we'd start frying the dough at 9 to open up at 10.
Wow.
And then from 10 to about 2 to 3, we'd be open, selling as many donuts as we could. A lot of times we finished at 12, which was great because we would just go until we sold out. We'd make about 1,500 donuts every weekend and just go until we sold out.
Wow.
And then it would take us about 5 hours to clean the house again.
Dang. That's crazy.
Because we would wreck the house. I mean, so much flour everywhere, icing everywhere. Because we would always show up. We would never be on time. And then we would always have a line longer than the amount of donuts that we had prepared.
Mm.
And we would try to get ahead, but then we'd fall back behind, and then we'd try to get ahead again, and then we'd fall back behind, but then we would rush, which caused us to make even more of a mess. And then on top of that, we'd have to be so like high energy and everything, which was great. I mean, it was so much fun. Just the interactions with people.
How could you just flip the switch and become high energy?
I don't know if, I mean, I'm sure you can flip a switch, but I think, I mean, I don't know. I think I've always been just kind of a high energy person, but I think a lot of it is just reps.
Like you're just getting in the flow of interacting with people.
Yeah.
And you're just within like 10, you guys are on.
The great thing is like people come and then they leave and they don't come back at all that day for the most part. So you can have the same conversation 300 times. You know? It's like you find 5 or 6 conversations at work, and then you just vary them up because you get bored of the same one, you know?
So like what kind of questions? Like
you have like, hey, what are you doing today? How was your Sunday? What'd you do Saturday night? Like, what was a crazy gossip that happened in Chapel Hill? Like, is there any like just stupid, random, fun stuff like that?
Okay,
that ask people if they have any plans. Like, what's your plans today? What are you doing?
I see.
It's like, how do you spend you got homework? You got tests coming up? Oh, I hate that class. Like, that's and just stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's like relatable because you guys are students too.
Yeah. We're all going through the same stuff.
Yeah. Man, that is super fun. And you just feel energized being around these people.
Yeah. Just because I know, and they're giving me money. So it's a lot easier to be energized with people when they're giving you money.
Yeah. Different story.
Yeah.
I got you.
I think 100%. Like, it's a lot easier when you get some reward back. Like, it's a lot harder to be energized when they're not giving you anything in return.
I see what you mean.
But like the money, because a lot of people didn't have the same energy, but they would love it because they would come and they maybe were down here and we were up here, but we would bring them up to here.
I see. And for the people, I don't know if I'm going to do a video. He moved his hand like half of the distance from the gap that was created. So he's bringing them from bringing them halfway up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, when I was working in Hawaii as working on that dock, I was working on a dock sending people out on stand-up paddleboards through this river that went through Oahu. And almost all of my money was commission. It was commission and tips. And what you said about it being easier to be energized when people are giving you money, I could not agree more. Because I get so energized around people already. Like I love people so much. And so it isn't mutual. It's not exclusive to just when I'm making money. But what I will say is that there's something that when you see the tangible results of your energy, that feels so rewarding. Like, you know that these people are going to buy donuts, or you know that they're going to tip you because simply you just had such a lovely interaction with them. And that doesn't always equate, but the majority of the time it does. It's like an energetic transfer. And so it's just super cool to be the provider of that and to just experience it.
At the minimum, it's not going to make it worse.
That's true. Yeah.
So like the worst it can do is make them like they stay the same.
Totally.
Or I guess they could make them not vibe with you very much, but then they're not going to come back anyway, so it doesn't matter. No, like those people are going to have a bad day in life anyway.
I think if you have a loving intention, like even people who are closed off, if you're really coming from a loving space, you just let them be closed off and nothing gets worse.
Yeah. I mean, nothing in your life gets worse, but they could be closed off from you but they don't come back. So that's on them.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
But like the people who love it.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings them in more.
Yeah. So,
and money, in my opinion, is just, it's almost like a scorekeeper. It's like the more value you provide to people, the more money they'll give you. So like the more value we provide to people, they'd give us, like we had one parent give us $100 tip for 5 donuts. Like she paid for 5 donuts with $100 bill.
Wow.
I'm like, I was like, how do you want me to break this? And she's like, don't break it. Keep it. It's for you.
That's epic.
Yeah.
And I also remember there was this thing that you guys were doing that was sick, that you were making it super clear that like a significant portion of your profits was going to child or human trafficking, right?
Yeah. So we gave $1 of every order to Operation Underground Railroad.
And to put this in perspective, how many dollars is a typical order?
The average order was, see, this is one of the craziest things that it actually is a great interview topic. So when I have been in past interviews for jobs, I say one of the craziest things I learned is how testing different things, different pricing strategies is just testing different things in a business is what can help make you a lot of money, because we realized that everyone was getting one of each. At first we sold 2 donuts. Everyone was getting one of each. So then I said, whoa.
That is sick.
That's crazy. For those of you watching, balloons just came up. Yeah. Everyone's getting one of each. And then I was like, okay, let's try selling 3 donuts. No, actually, we ended up just selling 3 donuts. Yes, we sold 2 flavors.
Everybody was getting one of each.
Because originally we started as a competition. So it was like, we're trying to find the best donut flavor, because like there's no good donuts in Chapel Hill, so we're going to find the best donut flavor. And then we're like, we're going to take that donut, we're going to run up against the big donut.
Yeah, and the winner each week you would bring back and test it against a new flavor, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Big Cinny was the big winner. And then we're like, okay, Big Cinny's so good, let's just keep him around forever, and then let's try 2 other flavors. And then we're like, well, everyone's still getting one of each. So we're like, let's try 4 donuts. And everyone's still got one of each.
So then you're like, let's try 100.
No, we tried 5 and people got 3 donuts.
Cool.
So we're like, all right, let's do 4 donuts. And people got, which 4 donuts really was just 3 donuts. It was a glaze, a Big Cinny, and then 1 donut flavor. And then the flavor typically had something else with it. So like the flavor with the chocolate drizzle. So it didn't actually take that much. We only ever did 3 flavors.
I see. And then one of them you would just add a little touch to make it a 4.
One of them we had to make it a special donut.
Nice.
Yeah. Because with what we were working with, 4 flavors was just way too hard.
Yeah, totally.
And 5 flavors was ridiculous. Then we tried a Boston cream donut, and that was the worst day of my life. That was so crazy.
God.
Yeah. It wasn't actually the worst day of my life, but it was crazy. It was a hectic day.
So when you guys switched to 4 donuts, were most people just buying 4? Or
Yeah.
buying 3, I mean?
Most people bought, I'd say the average, I think I did the math one time. The average donut sale was 3.
Was $3.
Yeah, so $3. So we end up getting, so for every order that we had, so it'd be whether you bought 1 donut, we'd give $1, or whether you bought 12 donuts, we'd give $1.
I see.
So if you bought 1 donut, we'd give all of the money.
Yeah, and your average order was $3?
Yes.
So a third of all your profits was going to human trafficking.
A third of all of our dollars were going to human trafficking. Our profits were like $2.
Okay, so you guys are making like $1 profit per order then.
Yes. This was also this is why Nando's is such a great topic on business interviews, because I learned so many things about running a business that I would never have thought about before. So like how important profit margin is. And I know with a lot of people our age, it's easy to rip on people who charge a high margin for things because they don't see how hard it is to actually run a business that doesn't make any money, because you don't actually get to keep any money when you don't make any money, which means then you don't have any money to spend money on anything, which seems like such a simple concept. And intellectually, I think a lot of people get it. And I was the same way. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like I would get mad at people like, well, why would we charge so much for our donuts? This was literally the conversation we had. It's like, why would we charge so much for our donuts? It's like they cost so little to make. Because people are like, oh, you guys could charge $2 each for a donut. We're like, no, we're gonna keep it at $1. They're so cheap to make. Like we can easily keep it at $1. But then it's like we couldn't. It would take us. We could have grown a lot quicker and made a lot more, or been able to have a lot more comfortable of a life if we would have been able to donate a lot more too, if we would have charged more.
I see. And those things are like, I remember one time you guys got that donut maker.
Yeah. So this was what led to the ultimate downfall of Nando's. Yeah. This one hits here. So we ended up buying a fryer, the one that Duck Donuts has that makes the donuts, that cost $12,000, and that was essentially all the money that we had made up to that point.
And this is like how long in?
This was a year and a half in.
And you guys had $1,200, like after all said and done.
We had a little more than that, but we had spent all the money because we were living. It's like it wasn't our main income, because I was doing I was selling digital marketing and doing DoorDash on the side. So like I had other money, but if I was still spending all the money that I was making, I wasn't saving anything.
I see. So you guys weren't like, you didn't have a Nando's independent fund to reinvest in Nando's. You guys were just taking your cut.
We did, but we kept it small.
I see.
But our cut wasn't huge because we would donate such a big portion of all the profits that we would make. So we would keep it small, and then we would donate all the money, and then we would have to buy all the ingredients, which was $500 a week. And then it was depending on what we had to buy for the week. But then we made some very bad investment decisions too. So we would buy all these fryers that at one point we had 9 fryers in our house. Like mini fryers we could fry like 6 donuts at a time.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we're like, okay, we need to do something because we can't physically plug 9 fryers in. Damn it. We would blow a fuse every 10 minutes. That weekend, it was literally someone's job to stand by the switch and turn it on every 10 minutes that when it would go off.
Oh my gosh, bro. You guys were going to start a fire.
Literally, 100%. 100%. How we didn't, I have no idea. We had plugs coming all the way, because I live on the second floor of the house. We had an extension cord that went all the way up to my room on the second floor, all the way up to my roommate's room, and then in every single other room in the house.
Wow.
Yeah. Just so we couldn't use the kitchen plug anymore because it was completely shut.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys get the good fryer like after a year and a half. So wait, real quick. So let's say you guys make $1,500 a weekend. 500 are going to human trafficking. And I will say, obviously, you guys have big hearts, and that's something that you want to do. But
It was probably about 300 would go to human trafficking. 500 would go to product like supplies, so flour, sugar, donuts, flavorings, whatever, milk, butter. Milk and butter were the two major expenses. And then upgrade, like buying a fryer. We bought a $400 mixer. I have a nice KitchenAid in the kitchen because of it. I've got just ton of fryers. And then coffee maker, because we started selling our own coffee, and then we started buying our own coffee, and then we would go and get a bunch of granola. We started selling granola, homemade granola, and we had to buy all the storage stuff. So we had to buy all the racks to keep the donut on. So we had, at one point, we had 9 of the Walmart just like shelves that you see in your garage that we would lay the donuts on.
wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so, and this is like just for a week. You have 300 that's going to human trafficking, 500 that's going to the new ingredients, and then the remaining 700 is going to new supplies if you need new supplies, like new machines, we
would take 100 out every week.
100 each as individuals. Yeah. And then the rest you'd invest back into the company.
Yeah.
Okay. But you guys still think that what you decided to reinvest back into Nando's was just not enough.
Yeah. I mean, I think because to be serious, like, because we didn't pay rent on our house. I mean, we paid rent, but we didn't pay like shop rent. We didn't pay extra utilities. Like, there are so many expenses that we didn't have to pay for because we were doing it out of our house.
Yeah, totally.
And then like the stuff for all the websites and the fees that we would get for like on every order, because we had to switch to. So we realized we didn't realize how big of it. If we were to keep the same model in our house, we could have been fine. We would just had to turn our house into a full-blown donut shop, which we didn't want to do. But when we moved to the bar the next day, or the last 6 months or the last year, because we had ended up getting an article written about us in the Daily Tar Heel, which is a big deal in Chapel Hill, and our landlord saw it. And he was like, yo, you guys can't be doing this anymore. Like, this is illegal, which it totally was, which is why we were not called a donut shop. We were called a bake sale, because that's legal, but donut shops are illegal to run out of your house. So we called them donations. Everyone only donated to our house. But then we couldn't get the article written about us unless we became legit LLC. So then we're like, we want the article written about us. So we became an LLC. We're like, what's the worst it could do? And then we're like, oh, well, we're running a business out of our house. So we moved from our house to a local bar that was closed on Sunday mornings. And they had a similar setup to the house where they could just walk up to the window. And it was at that time that we bought the fryer. So Nando's had no more money. And we had to start paying. It was like $150 every day that we wanted to operate. And it was in a new thing, so the marketing expenses were a lot higher. Like, we would try random stuff. We'd bought this big pail of chalk, and we hired people to go write Nando's all around Chapel Hill. We bought a bunch of stickers and stuff. We printed out a bunch of papers, just trying to spread the word of where we were. And like, sometimes people just don't come for reasons that you can't control. Like, for instance, the bar that we were renting, there was a homeless guy who lived there. And most of our crowd was sorority girls who would go for their hot girl Sunday walks. They'd come to Nando's, get some coffee. We'd chat them up. It was fun, friendly banter. And the homeless guy would stick outside the window and just throw cards and try to stick them in the window pane.
Dang.
Yeah, on the side of the shop, and smoke a cigarette. So we'd see the girls, they'd come, because like where they normally come, they turn right, and we were right there. We could see them come, like see him, and then just keep walking straight.
Damn.
So, and he lived at the shop because he was close with the owner.
I see.
So
most people, you guys just business started to go down when you moved locations,
yes,
and then you just couldn't afford to keep operating.
we could, like, we stayed afloat, but we got to the point where we had to go all in on it, or it's like, do we want to make the donut shop our lives?
I see.
And we all agreed that it was not a thing that we wanted to do.
I see. So yeah, there was just like all the momentum that you guys had of just being in the neighborhood, like it's super friendly, walk up house, like cozy environment, Sunday morning, like cozy way to start the day. Now it's this bar, there's strangers, it's more public, less cozy. And it's just like the same allure, Nando's allure, like these variables that you hadn't even considered that may have made you guys so easy to be drawn to was just all of a sudden gone.
Yes.
Yeah. And then it was like, maybe we could double down and make it more cozy and do all these things, but is it worth it?
Or we could just completely switch up the model and try to become like an official shop. But that would also become like, it's a similar process of doing that as it would be to try to make it as cozy again. Like, it's the same amount of work. So we just were like, these are our three options. We could try to make it the house vibe. We could try to become more like the corporate donut shop vibe, or we could become nothing.
And you chose option 3.
Yes.
Dang. So this was, when did you guys close Nando's?
The summer before I started at UNC.
Which is?
I started 22, the fall of 22.
Fall of 22, you started at UNC.
Yeah, because I started the fall after I was originally supposed to graduate.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. So, yeah, you're in Chapel Hill at this point for like a year and a half doing Nando's.
2 years, yeah.
2 years, not doing school, like doing Nando's and just working.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in this time that you gave up the dream of being a soccer player.
Yes.
And that energy that you have of like, you're just figuring out this entrepreneurial spark that like you loved, right? Just
yes, I did love it. Yes.
Okay. Just
I do love
not putting words in your mouth.
Yes.
So you figure out this entrepreneurial spark in you, and you still have all this, I don't know. I mean, our whole life we were soccer players. Like that was our identity, like you were saying earlier.
Well, I mean, we've always kind of been restaurateurs also.
What? Reveal the plan. Man.
We've always had a backup plan. That I don't know if these people are ready to hear it, but
DJ's Pizza, opening fall 2028.
Yeah,
it's a chain restaurant.
It's a chain restaurant.
There is a chain that connects every single DJs in the country.
Yeah. So in reality, we've kind of been training for this our whole lives.
God damn it, you're so right. I didn't even think about this.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, perfect test run. Okay. So yeah, but you're taking this like soccer player identity.
Yes.
And do you think that you became like, I guess, how did your identity shift? You were talking about what you learned. You said you think that you learned to be more confident, like you were more extroverted, like you're falling in love with this energy that you're giving people and you're seeing how you're getting it in return. And you learned
I think for me, it was just becoming comfortable with the fact that this is the next phase of my life.
Totally. So what is that next phase?
Well, it's going back to being a student again. I started at UNC. I joined ROTC. I gave up the donut shop life. I was trying to re-ingratiate myself with society again in a way, because I was an outsider for so many years, which was an interesting experience in itself. And then becoming a student again and just like being like a regular person after being like a weirdo for so long.
Do you think like weirdo just because you weren't going to school?
It wasn't as much as like other people saw. I mean, there were some people who saw me as a weirdo and definitely would treat me like that, which is super interesting.
I'll always treat you like you're weird, man.
I know. And I appreciate that because I am definitely a little weird. But it's so interesting to see how people treat you when you're not like part of the in crowd. But when you are, and then when you are part of the in crowd, now, or like how different people's perceptions of you from the outside cause other people to treat you.
So now, like, are you saying, like, now that you had this image of being like the cool Nando's guy, people treated you differently?
Yes and no. But like then people started to treat me different once I was an actual student too. It's like the way,
Oh, I
because like
see.
when
Yeah.
I would tell people that I wasn't a student and I dropped out of college to play professional soccer, they were like, "Oh, really?"
I see.
Yeah. And then there were some people who thought like that wasn't everybody, but there was a certain amount of people, and obviously those are the people that I remember. But and then the difference of when people, it's like now when I tell someone, their reaction is completely different versus when I was actually in it.
Huh. Yeah. So, dude, yeah, that's so interesting. Do you think you felt like a bit ashamed to like not really know what you're doing with your life?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can relate.
100%. Yeah, and I think honestly, I think a big part of my growth is accepting that no one knows what they're doing. It's like none of us have lived in today's Friday, March 22nd. None of us know what it's going to be like to live on Friday, March 23rd of 2024. It's like none of us have been there yet.
Yeah, totally.
We don't know what it's going to be like to be us in that time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of us are more certain of what that's going to be than others, but I think none of us know what it's like to be us. And figuring that out is tough.
So, like, you became okay with being lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of it was I started to move in a direction.
Yeah, dude, this ties back in perfectly. Because what you were saying about doing the Ironman is like, and Nando's is that, like, you don't have to know where you're going or like believe in where you're going, but just start going and like
100%.
find your way.
And that was the same thing with like making content. Granted, I've only been making content for like, I've probably made 15 videos, so I'm not a professional content maker. But from all the professional content makers that I've looked at and followed and influenced, their philosophies are move quick and break things and then fix them if they need to be fixed. And that was Mark Zuckerberg's famous words when he was building Facebook. It's just like move quick and break things and then just do the thing and go back and see what worked and see what doesn't work. And I think the process of moving quickly feels good.
Nice. And I feel like
because like even with fitness, so fitness is a good example of this.
Yeah.
It's like when I started, because ever since I stopped playing soccer, I signed up for my first marathon. And
you signed up for your first marathon. Was this while you were doing Nando's? And
Yeah.
before you were a student?
Yeah.
Nice.
So
this
it was
like filled the role of soccer. Like you quit soccer, you're like, well, how am I
100%.
staying in shape?
Yeah,
now?
I didn't want to even look at a soccer ball. I didn't look at a soccer ball for like 2 years. Actually, that's a lie. I played professional indoor soccer, but which was actually very fun. But after that ended, it was like a year after that ended where I didn't want to play soccer again. But the fitness example is perfect because I was in very bad shape, running shape going in. I mean, objectively, like I was in solid shape, but I was running for my standards now very slow. And it's just you do the things enough times, you become confident, you become good at it. And then when you measure progress, I think that is what is very fulfilling.
Yeah.
Because you can go back and see the fact it's like, oh, this works. Like I'm feeling like I'm good.
Yeah. Like it's good to have that tangible result. Like 3 weeks when you were running, an 8-minute mile. Now, after you've been running 4 miles a day, at least for like 3 weeks, now you can run a 7:15. Like you can see.
Yeah. And you feel different when you're running. Because I came to this realization during the Ironman prep is I always hated sprints. Like running, because running was always a punishment for me, and swimming sprints always sucked. But because I came to it while I was swimming, and I'm like, if I just go for a nice, just like cruise in the pool where I'm just not really focused on a time, I'm just trying to hit a certain distance in whatever time, and it's just a solid swim. Like it feels good.
Yeah, like you get into a nice flow.
It's almost like a meditation. It's just like a nice, easy rhythm that you get into, and you just hold the rhythm for a while. You just focus on your breath. And it's just like fun. And then you start to see that time decrease a little bit every week.
So you saw that
better
with
and
the
better.
marathon first.
Yeah.
And also, like, what made you just decide to just do a marathon? Like, that's not something that people just decide to do.
I don't know. I always like doing hard stuff. And to me, a half marathon felt like a cop out. It felt like it's in the name, a half marathon. So it's like,
Sorry to all of you
if
half
I'm going to do it,
runners out there.
I love you, and keep it up. What my favorite thing to this day is when other people say that they're running for, like, they're training for, like, my favorite DMs to get are when someone sends me like, hey, like, I just watched a video. It's just, I'm training for a half marathon in June, and I'm super excited. And I just want you to know, like, your videos are awesome. That gets me so fired up. And I love it. And if that's you, like, go for it. But I was a professional athlete at the time. Like, I was like, I can hold myself to a higher standard.
I see. Yeah.
So I always wanted
like, you took this energy of like pushing yourself to the limits from soccer and carried it over to your own life. Like, pretty smooth transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nice. I honestly don't know why I signed up for a marathon. I can't remember. It was such like a blurry period of my life. Yeah. It was like one of those periods where, those soccer games where you're in the zone, you can't really remember what happened, but you played well.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really know what was going on from the day to day. I can tell you what was going on from like a macro view and different periods of time. And that's what, honestly, one of the best parts about documenting the journey through the Nando's Instagram and like Strava, the running app, which is my favorite app of all time, is you get a clear insight to what you were thinking at the time and what was going on in your life. So if you ever want to go back and look at it, it's a clear documentation of what was going on. Whereas like now, if I didn't have anything written down, I didn't have any pictures of the time, I couldn't go back and actually extrapolate the lessons that was there. Like, I would get things confused because this happened where I was thinking something was one other way. I went back and looked at a picture of it and it was something completely different. So
after you started deciding to run for the marathon, like in this phase of your life, when did the actual marathon happen?
It was December 5th of 2021.
Of 2021?
Yeah.
So, and then the following year, you became, so the following year, you became an UNC student.
Yes.
Okay,
this was December of 2021. I signed up for it in September of 2021. Yeah, because it was right after. Honestly, part of it might have been because one of my friends from high school had just died.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember I bought my shoes in Cincinnati when Jaden died. And then that's when and I had a stress fracture. And then I was like, yeah, it was September. And then I think I just needed a new challenge. I was like, I need a new challenge, marathon. And then Jaden died. And I was like, I'm going all in. And then I trained for I trained for 4 months. It was a trail marathon, which I didn't know about until I sent it to a friend who I was trying to get to run with me. And she was like, dude, this is a trail marathon. I don't do those. And I was like, what do you mean a trail marathon? It's like through the mountains. I was like, shit.
That's epic.
Yeah.
So what do you do to fill this? Like, you do the training for the marathon, and now you started training for your half Ironman fall 2023, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do in between?
What did I do? I did a lot of, there were other races that I did. So I did a lot of random races. So I would go out and run on my 24th birthday, I ran 24 miles. And I ran a marathon before. I trained for a half marathon. I did do a half marathon in March. This was before that. So that was all last year. I'm thinking of the year before. So I didn't do any other races before.
You were just staying in shape.
Yeah.
So did you like the marathon enough? Obviously, you're revisiting it now, but you didn't get that like immediate, I need to do this right away again.
Oh, no, I did. 100%. I just didn't have the money to sign up for it.
So how did you fulfill this desire? Just like training on your own, doing your own stuff? Yeah. Nice. Okay, so now what I want to talk about is you decide to do the Ironman. This is a half Ironman, right?
Yeah, half Ironman.
Okay, so explain to me exactly what that is, because the numbers confuse me.
A 1.2 mile swim.
All right.
A 56 mile bike ride and a half marathon, which is 13.1 miles run.
And what's your goal for a time for this?
Sub 5:30.
Sub 5:30. 5 hours, 30 minutes.
5 hours and 30 minutes.
Dang.
Yes.
That's a long time, bro.
It's a long time to be doing physical activity.
Yeah.
A full Ironman is double. And a good time for a full Ironman is sub 10 minutes, sub 10 hours.
Sub 10 minutes is gone.
I mean, a sub 12 is a solid time for a full Ironman.
Wow. Dang.
Most people take like 13, 14 hours.
So what made you make the jump to sign up for the half Ironman?
I follow a lot of people on Instagram that do very hard things, and it made me feel like I could do more things than just run a half marathon. And I had already run a half marathon. I had run a 50K, which is 31 miles. And I was like, I've run 2 marathons, a half marathon, 50K. And then I was like, I need to do something big.
Yeah.
So I was like, half Ironman. This
is the way to push yourself more than everything you've already done. Yeah.
So I was like, screw it. I was like, I've seen people run a 240-mile race through the woods.
Wow.
So I'm like, this is going to be easy.
So you feel inspired by seeing these people?
Yes.
That's nice.
And I see it's like, to me, an Ironman is the fittest person. Granted, I mean, what's the fittest person in the world? There's different kinds of fitness, so you go off. But the kinds of fitness that I wanted to be good at, an Ironman is the best. Swimming, biking, running. Because I don't want to be a CrossFitter. I have zero desire to do that.
Yeah, nice, dude.
Ironman and then American Ninja Warrior. Those are my 2 next fitness paths.
Okay, that's sick. Yeah. American Ninja Warrior is epic.
Yep.
Okay, so you decide to sign up for the Ironman. And then what makes you decide? Well, first of all, I wanted to ask you, who would you say is like your biggest inspiration or shuns? Like these people that you're seeing on Instagram or YouTube or wherever you're watching.
I think of like David Goggins. I think of Cameron Haynes are my 2 biggest when it comes to just running, because like Cameron Haynes runs a half marathon every morning.
Wow.
Yeah. And David Goggins does basically the same thing. If you don't know who David Goggins is, look him up and you'll understand why he's my motivation for fitness. But he's a lot of people's motivation for fitness. Yeah, and he just runs 250-mile races. Like, he's an ultramarathon. His story is insane. I'm not going to do it any justice by explaining it. So if you haven't heard it, look it up. Insane.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, and then you decide to do this, and then what makes you decide to record it? That you want to start making videos about it?
This was super vain, but I saw some guy who had 50,000 followers on Instagram making these videos, and I was like, I am so much funnier than this guy.
I swear.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome.
And I saw this girl that I liked a different guy's video, and I was like, if she's liking his videos and his videos suck and I can do better, imagine what would happen if I started making my own videos.
Then she would double like you.
Well, her or other girls too.
Ooh.
It's like, you never know what doors that opens up to you. And it's just like the power of a personal brand. It's not always, but recently I've been looking into the power of a personal brand and how much it can do for you for having a personal brand. Like, you think of The Rock. Any business The Rock starts is going to be successful because people love him. He's got a very strong personal brand. Kylie Jenner, a billionaire at age 21. That's all because of her personal brand. It's like all these celebrities after celebrities are starting these companies that just make them a ton of money because they have a strong personal brand and people like them. so they can do these things, provide this service that then people were willing to pay for. So I was like, I just need to find my thing that I can start to create a brand with, because I'd always felt I didn't want to do soccer because I was done with that part of my life. And I don't know anything about business, so I'm not going to start talking about business stuff online. So I was like, what do I know? I know fitness. And I don't feel good enough about fitness to start telling people how to lose weight, because I've always kind of been in shape because I've always been an athlete. So I wouldn't want to say that. But I know how to push myself hard, and I know how to have a good time. So I'm just going to start doing that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And it's your way of building your brand so that in the future, like you're almost creating this image for yourself that you'll be able to take with you in whatever future endeavor you do.
Yeah, I don't think of it as I'm building the image. I say I'm laying the foundation for me to build the image. So it's like I'm building up goodwill in a way with my audience, or I'm building some kind of foundation where I can then put, like, I don't see my current phase of life as the game. I see it as like the preparation for the game. So I'm just trying to get as much as I can, just try as many different things as I can out before I go all in.
That's nice, man. Okay, so we talked about before how you really have this belief that it's about...
Hold on. I need to get a glass of water.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so to bring up the question that I was about to ask you, we talked about this earlier about how you have this big belief that it's not actually about believing in yourself, then do the action, but do the action and let the belief in yourself follow. So do you think that doing these things, in what way has it helped you to become a more confident person? Like, how do you see it in other aspects of your life?
I mean, I make a lot of jokes about this in my videos, but I always talk about my big ego and how I make the Iron Man my whole personality, and that I only run to tell people that I run. Where it's like, in reality, those things, it's not like those things aren't true, because like I am running and then I'm telling people that I'm running, but it's also like inside there's a lot of, it's like not a lot of people are ever going to do a half Ironman. And this might sound very arrogant or whatever, but I think a lot of self-confidence comes from the fact that it's like you think you're worthy of some, it's like you like yourself. It's like I set a goal and I committed to the goal. So it's like I set a training plan for the first marathon that I did, and I committed to the training plan. I did every workout on the training plan, and I ended up putting down a very good marathon. So it's like, okay, I know, check, I've done that thing. And that's where I think self-confidence comes from, is from doing things. And I've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then I haven't done a lot of things, but I've done things that I've said I was going to do.
Is there anything?
And I think that is the definition of self-confidence. It's belief in yourself. And you only believe things that you've seen. And it's hard to find belief about things that you haven't seen within yourself.
Were there any moments during that journey where you would set a goal and you wouldn't reach it?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to run a sub-4 marathon, but I didn't realize during training that the last 7 miles of it were going to be just like straight up and down a mountain. And I was like, okay, so I wish I would have been on a flat surface, but I could have gone like 3:30, 3:45. But yeah, I mean, the whole first 20 years of my life, you could say, was a waste, because I didn't hit my first goal of becoming a professional soccer player or playing for FC Cincinnati. But I also don't think that it's not that I am not going to hit any of my goals. I'm not going to become a professional soccer player. I'm not going to play in the MLS. But like, when it comes to fitness goals, that's what I love so much about fitness goals, is it's like I just haven't hit them yet. It's like I might not have hit them this time, but I haven't hit them yet. because I can always just do it again.
Yeah. Do you think
so? Like, if I don't hit under 5:30 for this half Ironman, then I'll just try again.
So, do you think that you doing these Ironmans and half Ironmans now is your way of trying to like make up for your not becoming a soccer player?
I think you probably could have made that argument about the first Ironman, but I mean, maybe.
Wait, I thought you just had done marathon.
I mean, the first marathon. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Marathon.
I was like, whoa, he's
no.
whole
I
other
think
journey.
you could say maybe, but I would also say it's the same part of me that wanted to become a professional soccer player that drove me to do the Ironman. So I don't know if you could say which one causes the other one, if that makes sense. Like, I think it's two parts of the same coin.
Like, explain more.
Like, it's the same ambition and self-belief that I'm made for, an ego, you could say, that I'm made to do great things, that allowed me the arrogance to believe that I was going to become a professional soccer player. That then makes me think that I am able to complete a half Ironman, or makes me think that if I post this video of me talking about some BS that happened in my day, that people are going to find it funny.
So you're saying that you just have this like inherent belief in yourself that you can do these things?
I think it's the desire to be a certain kind of person who has the belief in himself. So, like, I desire to be someone who feels good about themselves. So I do hard things so that way I look back and I feel good about myself for doing the hard thing. Because doing hard things feels good because other people don't do hard things.
I see.
You know?
I think
it's like the feeling of going on a long run or doing something that someone else doesn't. It's never something you regret. It's like going through a good workout is never something that I've been like, that sucked. And chasing that feeling is, and it's like, and when you become a drug addict, like running a half marathon isn't going to do the same thing for me as running a full marathon. And running a full marathon, you run enough of those. I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure you run enough of those full marathons, you're not going to get the same effects as you would as running a half Ironman or a 50K. So it's just like, you got to keep trying different things.
Yeah, like just keep pushing yourself and pushing yourself.
The bar for that feeling goes higher every time you achieve it.
I see. Do you think that, like, yeah, I mean, it's so interesting the way that you described it, because I feel like, that thing of pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. I mean, I think first of all, I think it's great. I think it's so awesome to push yourself and keep pushing yourself. But do you ever, like, is there an end goal?
No. No, I mean, the end goal is to run a 5:30 Ironman. But, like, I don't have. This is actually something I've been wrestling with a lot recently. It's like, what is the end goal of my fitness journey? It's like, ultimately, the end goal is to live as long as possible. And it's to be healthy enough where I can do physical activity with my great-grandkids. Or my grandkids, or whichever one that is. So it's like, that's the, like, because what is the end goal in fit? Like, I don't want to making the Olympics would be sweet, but do I think I'm going to be good enough to that? Or it's not even, do I think I'm going to be good enough? It's, do I want to put in the work that's required to get there? And it's like, no.
Yeah.
I don't think I do, because that's so much time that I want to do other things with.
Yeah. So do you ever feel like the more goals that you're setting, like the going higher and higher and higher, It's almost like just this next challenge to prove why you're not enough the way that you are.
No, I think once you get a taste of it, you try to look for more. I wouldn't say it comes out of a lack of feeling enough. I would say it comes from, it's like, ooh, that was fun. Like, how can I get more of that feeling?
Totally.
You know, it's because like the fun in a marathon isn't in the crossing of the finish line. It's everything that leads up to that. It's like I have a hard time describing this because over the past couple months, I've been trying to just like put into words what it is that makes, because essentially we're paying in some cases a lot of money to do things that suck. Like there's this building.
It's like biggest scam of all time.
I mean, literally, there's this building that towns have built where people give money that they work hard for to pick heavy things up and just put them back down. And it's called a gym. You know? So it's like we're just paying this money that we work for. Like we spend our days working for this thing to do a hard thing. And we spend hours of our lives training for this. Like I have a spreadsheet where I track my whole life on. Because again, I think part of my self-confidence comes from I see different wins in my life. It's like the more ways you track, the more ways you can win. So I have a spreadsheet that tracks my whole life. I have the habits that I keep that I want to keep consistency wise. And then I have my bank account, all my investment accounts, and like all my daily spending. So it's like if I see like my weekly spending go down, I'm like, yes. But where was I going? What were we talking about?
I forget.
Okay.
No, I kind of remember. We were talking about the end goal.
Yes, the end goal of running. There is no end goal. I just think the feeling is, I was talking about the build up to the marathon.
Yeah.
It's like the best part of the marathon is the anticipation of it. It's like there's a study done of people in the UK for a night out. And it's like the best part of everyone's night out was getting ready for the night out. It's like it was never actually the night out itself. And it's like I was thinking about all of my time within going out. And it's like the best part of the nights or the best parts of the night out are the anticipation of what's going to come based off of the memories that we made last time. So it's like, it's the same thing with running a big race. It's like the anticipation of the feeling of crossing the finish line or going. Honestly, my favorite part is going up to the finish line and picking the packet up from the day before. Because it's like, that's where all the energy is. That's when everyone's super excited. It's like getting set up for the race as everyone's in such a good mood because everyone's about to just go suffer for themselves.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like it.
But you can't have that if you're not doing the running.
Yeah. You can't. Like there's a certain amount of work that is required to toe the line. And I think the end goal is just to always be able to toe the line.
So you become like incredibly good at this mindset of like pushing yourself like farther than you thought you could, of meeting your goals, of being very physically fit, and like you're starting to pour it into your life as a student. You're starting to pour it into your life as all the habits that you're tracking. So
I think it's more of like once I realized how much work you can do, like once you realize how much work I'm actually capable of, settling for anything less than that, I don't think I'd be able to live with.
I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like, you know what you're capable of.
So it's like once I realize what I'm capable of, anything, and this is part of where the self-confidence thing comes in. It's like once I realize how much work that it takes for me to do something and how well I can do something, I can't settle. Like if I settle for anything less than that, or if I expect myself to do something more, but I settle for less work, then I'm just not going to achieve that outcome.
Totally. So I would say that genuinely, you're probably in better physical shape than like 98 to 99% of human beings.
Probably, yeah.
So, and based on this model, and that's just like logical thing, not like legitimately, you're in incredible shape.
I mean, objectively, I would say probably top one, probably 0.1%.
Yeah, literally. Like,
because if you think of 7 billion people, how many people can run a half Ironman? Probably not a ton.
Yeah, but there's also lots of types of being physically in shape.
Yes, that's where but yeah.
So like top 1%, top 0.1%, whatever. You're in incredibly good physical shape. And the idea with this is that you doing these Ironmans is like checkpoints to allow you to be more confident. Like, because you can do this, you're proving to yourself what you're capable of. Do you think that you're more confident, and this is not an arrogant thing at all, do you think that you're more confident than 99% of people?
That's a great question.
Thanks.
I don't know. Maybe.
And just to back this up, because the time in my life when I was reaching those checkpoints with soccer, I was doing all these things that I didn't think that I could do. And I started to notice, man, that, and this is just me, that I loved pushing myself further than I thought that I was capable of.
Yeah.
But I also felt that sometimes I lacked a bit of a balance. And I started to kind of get overwhelmed by the extent to which I pushed myself. Like, it was like I was pushing myself to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And for what? Like, after a while, I still didn't feel any better about myself.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm asking you, like, let's talk about this, because I don't know.
No, I don't either. I think the whole question of balance is always an interesting one to me, because it's like, balance what? Like, what in my life am I optimizing for?
Probably just happiness.
But then you just do the things that make you happy. It's like you do enough of those until they don't make you happy, then you do something else.
Yeah, I think that's the way everybody does life.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't think so. I think a lot of people, because you do things that you have to instead of what make you happy. I think doing things for happiness is a very privileged mindset that we are just now getting into being able, thankfully. I mean, I'm not like shitting on it, because thank God I can make funny videos online.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, think about back when people my age would be like, when we were 24, even 50 years ago, we'd probably be in a factory somewhere.
Yeah, but that was their version of optimizing for happiness.
Yeah,
because that was their way to make the most money. I mean, even people around the world who
but I don't think they loved. I think a lot of people, I guess, they didn't know any better.
Well, and honestly, like, even if you're optimizing just for survival, like, how can you be happy if you're not alive? So, like, you have to optimize for survival first. So, like, I think that every single human being is going through life just trying to figure out what's the best way that they can be happy, even if that means I have to survive first to be happy, and this is what I have to do to survive.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm more confident than 99% of people.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I agree. I'm definitely not.
I think I could see it, though, because I think a lot of people fake confidence.
Do you think that you fake confidence?
I think part of it is you fake it enough times and then you eventually are it. I was actually thinking about this today. I can't remember what I was thinking about something similar. It's like you only have to fake, because sometimes I like try to think about tweets that I'm going to send, because a lot of times I send tweets just like a reminder to myself. And tweets help me, like, if I actually send the tweet, then it helps me solidify it, because then I type it out and I physically have to think through what I'm going to say. But I can't remember what it was because I didn't actually ever type it out. But I was thinking of something like that. It's like, how many times do you have to fake being confident until you're actually confident.
Mm. I mean, do you think that it's possible?
I think so. Because, like, how many times do you have to fake being brave until you're actually brave?
Yeah. I don't
Because,
know.
like, being brave is just doing the thing that you're scared of doing. So it's like, what would I do if I were a brave person?
Yeah.
How
But I
would I
also think
act?
if you like decide to do the brave thing, then by default, you're brave. Like you're not even pretending to be brave anymore.
There you go.
But I think that I don't know if
But,
confidence
like,
works the same way.
why not?
Well,
Because,
because
like,
I feel like
what is confidence?
if you just decide, and this is again just my opinion. I feel like I don't even have to say that. Of course, it's my opinion.
Of course, it's your opinion. You're saying it.
I feel like sometimes for me, the more that I fake confidence, the more that I feel inauthentic to myself. Like,
Well, are you faking what I would argue that you're not actually faking confidence. You're putting on if this is how you feel, you're putting on what you think other people would see as confidence.
yes.
But true confidence is just being yourself,
Mm.
which is being authentic and being your like there's no way to feel inauthentic when you are exuding true confidence because you're being 100% yourself.
Well, then that goes back to the brave thing. Like, if you're just deciding to be yourself anyway, that is confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you don't even
But
have to fake confidence. You just are confident enough to be yourself anyway.
well, when I say fake confidence, it's like what would I do if I were confident? It's like, how
Mm,
would I act if I were a confident person right now?
I see.
It's like, I don't actually have to be confident in myself. I just have to act as if I were that confident person. And then you
Mm,
act enough times and you will be confident. Because I don't think it's like you are confident or you're not confident. It's like, to what extent are you confident? And
yeah.
it's like, I am confident sometimes, but other times I don't. It's like, I am a very outgoing person, but if I walk into a group of 100 people I've never met before, I am way less outgoing.
Yeah. Totally, dude. What if it's like to be a confident person, like I would be in a happy relationship, like deeply in love. And it's like, oh shoot,
But
like
that's not putting confidence on yourself. That's putting confidence. I mean, you could do that, but then you would never be like,
what if
neither of
it's
us
like
would be a confident
yeah.
person.
What if it's like to be confident, like if I'm a confident person, I would have like good and healthy relationships with anyone in my life.
I think that is a higher percentage chance of happening, but I would warn against putting how you feel on any external situation. Because, like, I think having healthy relationships, it's much better to think about it. At least this is how I've felt. Is it's better to think that I am confident, therefore I'm going to have healthy relationships
Mm.
because I am me and they're going to love me for me.
What if there's like something that you keep doing? And I appreciate this perspective. I'm thinking, what if there's something that you keep doing though, that you keep getting into these bad patterns and I don't know, like addiction, like you keep doing these things that are just unhealthy for you, or and then you just get mad at yourself and it's like I have nobody to blame but myself. And it's like if I was confident, I wouldn't do these things that I hate doing. But then you don't even know why you keep doing them.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because
Because,
that's where I feel like I don't know. That's where I feel like the wall is for me when I come to this idea of like faking it until I make it. Because there are certain points where it's like I could write down on a piece of paper all these things that I want to do, but there are certain times where I just fall short. Like there are things that I do that I don't even know why I'm doing them.
but I don't know if doing certain behaviors, like doing certain addictive behaviors, comes from a lack of confidence. I guess obviously some could, but
Yeah, because you're kind of sabotaging yourself. Like if you really loved yourself, if you're really confident in yourself, then like I would argue like you you wouldn't need to do this addiction. Like I think in every single addiction, you're looking for an emotion, a felt experience that you feel like you're not getting in your day to day life.
yeah.
Like I think that you're really getting it from connection. I don't know, like I've wrestled with this growth mindset, growth mentality of like everything is on me. You know, like ultimately I am the creator of my own destiny.
Which is a wild thought, because you know how much of your life is. I was just listening to a podcast today, and they talked about how much of who you are in your life is actually just determined by your genetics.
Yeah, that's crazy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
That's a great
over
example though.
60% of everything in your life is determined by your genetics.
So there's a lot of things in your life that are outside of your control. Like it's kind of the bottom line. Like I guess, how do you reconcile this growth mentality of like constantly overcoming your limitations and just having limitations as a human? Like how do you even behave? Like if you acknowledge these limitations, do you just have to not believe in yourself anymore, or have to like not like yourself?
I think it's acknowledging that you have certain limitations. Like for me, I know I'm never going to become an NBA basketball player. I'm a 5'9" white dude. Like, that's just never going to happen. Whereas, like, I also know I'm never going to become a professional soccer player again.
Mm.
It's like that's not on my cards. There's very little I can do about that at this point in my life. And it's accepting that. And then, but there are things I can control. Like I can't control what time I wake up tomorrow morning. I can control what I put in my mouth. I can control what I read tomorrow. It's like I can't control that my eyes are blue or that I'm going bald. But like I can control what my body looks like. I can control whether I go out and run 7 miles tomorrow.
Mm. I think that is a nice perspective of, regardless of the situations that you're in, there's always a choice.
Yeah. And I think at least people that I talk to, it's like they want to control these things, but they can't actually. It's like they want. It's basically the difference between being able to control and accepting life. It's like I can not like I cannot control. I can control, or I could have controlled whether I wanted to be a professional soccer player, but I'm accepting that that's not in the cards for me anymore.
Mm.
You know,
Totally.
so it's like I can control that I want to quit running Ironmans and I want to become a professional pickleball player. It's like I could do that, but I'm accepting that that's not what I want to do.
Totally. That's nice. So I guess one of my last questions would be for you, because I feel like this is a common, I don't know, like I mean, just the way that you're describing yourself, something that I'm always interested in is like the philosophies that people live by, like the philosophies that you've talked about during this episode about, like when you don't believe in yourself, just do the things that would make you believe in yourself. Like it's very simple, like this then that. If you were to, I guess, have to critique this lifestyle in any way, no, I mean, you never have to critique it. But do you think that there's anything that like is incomplete about this picture that you're experiencing that like you still have question marks about? Or do you feel like this is it? And the deeper that you're able to embody this, the happier I'll be.
A recent realization that I came to was a lot of the best things in life are because one of the best parts. Okay, let me restart. It feels good to be in a routine. I was just talking to my friend about this the other day. It's like I don't want to go back to Cincinnati for a long weekend because I'm in such a good routine right now. And I don't want to break routine because I feel like my life's in this flow state where everything's going well. And I don't want to derail that for anything. So, how do you contrast that with often the best things in life are the things that end up breaking routine? So it's like those those spontaneous trips that you take, or that spontaneous dinner that you have, or that person that you talk to on the street. It's like those things that are just outside of routine that bring that extra flavor into life that you're missing before.
Ooh, Ooh,
And
this
it's
is
like, I
deep.
think that balance of the two, it's like this week I've been like, how can I make space to break the routine?
Mm,
It's like, where can I almost schedule time where it's like, this is time where I'm just going to leave free for whatever happens.
mm,
And
totally.
it's learning what to say yes to and what to say no to. Because there's a lot of stuff where it ends up not being good or a waste of time. And that annoys me. Or it's like I don't get my responsibilities done because I ended up saying yes to something that took way longer than I thought it would. So
Mm,
it's
totally.
like finding the balance between breaking the routines for the right things and then keeping the routines to get the future right things.
Yeah. Dude, this is deep. I feel like what you described is like you've almost become not, and I'm saying this not in a roasting way, but the extreme of this ideology is like you're a slave to freedom. Like you're centering your whole life around those things that push you to be more free, to be more like pushing myself beyond what I thought I was capable of. Like you're constantly expanding your notion of self, like when you're constantly pushing the borders of what you thought was possible. And that's like a pursuit to be free. But if you're constantly just enslaving yourself to that, you're not experiencing the freedom that's around you all the time.
Yeah, I would say that's true, but I wouldn't necessarily word it like that.
Yeah, when I word it like that, it sounds like a roast, but that's not what I
No,
mean,
no,
though.
no. I know what you're saying, but I would say it's more of just like it's the difference between monk mode where you're like completely shutting off the world because where I mean, and a lot of times this works for a lot of people, but at the end of the day, there's a correlation between how long you live and the amount of healthy relationships that you have. And it's like the best moments in life are never when you're sitting behind a computer alone
So true.
getting things done. It's always doing things with other people or doing something that you never thought you were going to do before or trying something new.
Mm,
And it's like we do all these things in life so that way we can do all these things in life. Whereas it's like if I can do all these things that I want to do while also doing these other things that I want to do, it's like I want to make all this money so that way I can do all these things with it. Well, it's like if I can figure out a way to do all those things while I'm making all this money.
totally. Like you want to be able to like not just have to put off your enjoyment of life until after you can cash out the reward. Like you also want to be able to enjoy it along the way.
Yeah, but I also think there's macro enjoy and there's micro enjoy. And it's like you can enjoy doing all the little enjoyment tasks day to day is a lot like it make your whole life a lot better.
Yeah.
If you
I
think
love that.
about like the little enjoyments of just the little spontaneous things in life.
Mm. Yeah. Dude, yeah. I appreciate that so much. And I know I've been a little bit critiquing you, like questioning you hardcore this perspective. Dude, well, first of all, I love every single one of your answers and I appreciate them so much. The reason that I'm critiquing you so much is because there are people in my life who I've seen take this growth mindset to the extreme and then people who I know very deeply. And I can see that they're just not any happier. Like it's almost like they've created more polarity within themselves. Like when they're working towards something, like, yeah, maybe they are, but there's no balance. It's like they have to be working towards this thing to have any sense of meaning or purpose or happiness. And then there's no balance, like with relationships or time to relax or downtime. It's like I'm only relaxing so that I can then go back to pursuing this thing. And it's almost like they're just running away from themselves. They're running away from their problems. They're trying to outmaneuver the shame that they inherently feel. And like the more that they work towards this thing, the more they're just perpetuating the idea that they're not enough the way that they are.
Have
So,
you ever heard the parable of the fisherman and the villager?
no, tell it. I love
Or
it.
the fisherman and there's the businessman and the fisherman. And It goes, so there's this investment banker who goes on vacation to Mexico, and he goes to this small fishing town. And there's this guy who just goes out there every day and fishes. And he comes back and brings his little fish to the market. And the businessman goes, "Hey, like you should start a business. And you can do all these things with the business. Like you can hire all these people and like make all these extra ships and franchise it and sell it to a big other business for a lot of money." And the guy's like, "Well, why would I want to do that?" He's like, "Well, then you can make all this money. You can do all these things with it. You can start a school. You can do that." He's like, "Well, why would I want to do that?" He's like, "Well, then you can retire and you can fish every day and sit on the beach." He's like, "Well, I already do that."
I love it.
So it's just like, we're out. What are you optimizing for?
Totally. Yeah. Dude,
I think that's the big question in life that we're all trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out every day. It's like, what am I optimizing today for?
And that optimizing can be for relaxation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, dude, I think that's a super good note to end it on.
Sweet.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, Diggs.
Yeah, man.
So much love, as always.
It's been a lot of fun.
It's been so fun.